Maynard Family Chiropractic. And I typically don't do much of an introduction for myself, but for a talk like this, for what we're going to try and dive into this morning, I think it is important that you know a little bit about me. So I'm going to try and paint a picture about who I think I am anyways. That way you guys might get to know me a little bit better and see where I'm coming from, know my heart a little bit, and why this is something that I am passionate about. Passionate about speaking, passionate about chiropractic, but especially this topic. And I know we're here because this is about stress, okay? But as we get into this, you're going to realize that's the very tippy top of the iceberg. Okay? If stress is a factor in your life, which is a factor in all of our lives, but if you feel like it does have some power, some hold over you, there's a lot of things that we need to discuss other than just stress. So if you're here for like the 5 tips on how to like manage your holiday stress, that's not what this is going to be. Hopefully it's going to be so much more than that. So who am I? This is a huge part of who I am. Okay, this is my family. This is my wife, my 4 children. This is what I feel like I was created to do. This is something that, it is a constant for me. I'm very blessed to be a husband, very blessed to be a father. I view this as like the biggest gift in the world, okay? This isn't easy. Anybody who's had a family, anybody who's attempted to be married or stay married, anybody who's had children, brothers or sisters, this is work. This is my life's work. And I do think it's a worthy cause to try and do it well. Okay? And that is essentially what we're talking about here today. We are all individuals, but we're all individuals that are a part of something bigger than ourselves. We're part of a family, we're part of a home, you're part of a community, you're part of a neighborhood, whatever it might be. So it is our responsibility to make sure we're trying to do this, and what I mean by this is life, as well as we can. This is also a big part of my life. I try and do things as naturally as possible. Everything I do. I'm not perfect at it, my family's not perfect at it, but we try and raise as much of our own food as we can. We try and live within the laws of nature as much as we can. We try and remove negative, toxic things that should not be in our diet or our life or our home. We're constantly striving to improve that. This is a huge part of who I am. I spend a lot of time doing this stuff. And if you've ever owned a dog or a cat, you know that takes responsibility. And I've got too many animals right now.
Yeah, how do you have time to come up here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're just getting started on who I am. So I've got 4 kids. I've got chickens, cats, dogs, cows, and that's not easy. That forces me to think. It forces me to do stuff in a certain way. That forces me to get up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time. It forces me to take care of other living things. But we'll get into this and why this is important. This is also a really big part of who I am. Okay? And I bet nobody in this room has even seen this definition of chiropractic. The philosophy, art, and science of things natural. Not some things natural, all things natural. It's a system for adjusting the segments of the spinal column by hand only for the correction of pain, for the correction of headaches, for the correction of low back pain, for the correction of scoliosis? No. For the correction of the cause of disease. That's why you get adjusted. That's why chiropractic was invented, if you will, created. It wasn't some method to make people feel better. It was a process to realign the body, get it back to its natural state so it's not sick and diseased, because the natural state is not sick and diseased, and we have faith in that. This is something that has been a passion of mine. This is a profession of mine. This is how most of you have come to know me, as a chiropractor. But you know, I often don't talk about these other parts of my life. And it's important for you all as well to understand what are all the parts of you. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today to help us get to why we're here. Now, this word right here, philosophy. What does this have to do with chiropractic? And first of all, what does philosophy even mean? Can anybody give me like a short street version of what philosophy is?
The study of ideas.
The study of why things are the way they are. Why life is the way it is. Why? It's the whole why are we here? What is life? What are we doing? That's philosophy. It's really like the art of thinking. You guys know any great modern day philosophers? No. You probably rattle off a bunch of philosophers that have been dead and gone for centuries.
Yeah.
Why do we not have those anymore?
Doesn't make
Don't
money,
think enough.
perhaps.
We're not a people that thinks we need to think.
It's
We
true.
get so much given to us.
I got this in my hand.
Exactly.
The whole new thing now is that I can just
You're absorbing.
ask this thing in my hand anything,
Yeah.
and it will give me the answer.
A answer.
We'll give you an answer.
So what's the trick here? The trick is that we're being fooled into think that we have to think less now. When in actuality, we have to think more because of stuff like this. We have so many different answers for all of our problems coming at us from every different direction. Online, your coworkers, your family, Siri, whoever you're asking, whatever you're reading. We live in the information age, right? We have an overload of information, but we are handicapped in thinking. It is a art, it is a practice, and that is what today is going to be mainly about. So imagine you just walked into a gym, and I'm your personal trainer. But it's going to be for thinking today. Most people don't exercise that muscle. Most people don't train that muscle. Most people don't get in groups and do group thinking exercises. That's weird, right? That's all anybody used to do. They didn't go to the gym. They didn't have just social stuff. They used the highest of society used to be the people who would think. It wasn't the richest people. It was the people who were the best at thinking. They were extremely valued. They would put them together in a group. You guys even share your thoughts, think together, because it's important. It's important for this society. It's important for this culture. It's important for our health. It's important for everybody to have thinking happening at all times. And we don't do that anymore. You have a government, we know they're not thinking. They're thinking about themselves for the most part, and that is what it is.
They don't want us to think.
And they don't want us thinking for ourselves, but we have got to think for ourselves. We have to. I promise you, there is no other way. This is also the epicenter of everything I am. I am a man after Christ. I am sprinting after him with everything I do. And so today, you are going to see that, okay? And if that's something you're uncomfortable with, I don't apologize. I can't have this conversation without this reference. How do we talk about thinking? How do we talk about our emotions? How do we talk about our health? How do we talk about our mind without the person who created it? Without recognizing that we are a special being. There's something different about us compared to other living things on this planet. And if we don't recognize that, you might as well just, treat us like a tree. Give us water, give us sun, give us food. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah.
But we're much more than that. We're much more complex than that. There are different parts to us than other living things. So why are we here? And that's not a philosophical question. Like, why are we here today? Stress is the buzzword. We all deal with stress, okay? We're going to talk about what that really is, and is it bad? Is it good? We've been told not to stress. Now, and here's what I would also ask of everybody that is here. If you have any negative thoughts about this conversation, about stress, about anxiety, about depression, about fear and your emotions, it just has no place here. We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna work through it. We can all benefit from this. I know this for a fact. There is somebody in this room that is going to hear something today that is going to change something about them for the better. I know that. I can't tell you exactly how I know that, but I know that for a fact. And maybe she just walked in.
Sorry. Better late than ugly, right?
Welcome. No, we're here to develop a new way of thinking. Or to maybe even start thinking about these things for the first time in a while. Trust me, we all slip into that non-thinking pattern, especially this time of year. When we get busier, when we get more good things and more bad things in our life, it becomes all-consuming. And we don't feel like we have that energy to think, to discern. Well, what should I do? Which way should I go? What's right? What's wrong? And I'm here to tell you, we can exercise that just like any other thing, but we can make stronger. We can get better at that. But we might need to change some things about the way we think. So be open to that. Be open to looking at things literally from a different angle. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. We've all been, for the most part, probably raised in a similar society, in a similar country, in a similar, we all have our different little details, different little traumas, different little happenstances. But for the most part, we've all grown up in America. Now, that's a powerful thing. We don't think about that. Do you think and realize that this is an extremely unique place amongst the rest of the world, amongst the history of time? Nothing else ever been like this. Ever. This is a unique time to live, a very unique place to live, and it has its own unique challenges. Not an easy time to think, as we've seen. Thinkers are just going by the wayside year after year after year, especially if you think differently. But we're going to think. Here's the first scripture you're going to be blessed with. Who's heard this before? And if you've ever read the Bible, it may not even be in there because the translation's been taken out. Because nobody knows what gird means, they don't know what loins mean.
No, we do. We know.
Gird up your loins, but it's of your mind. Gird up the loins of your mind. So first let's get into what on earth does gird up your loins mean? I love this little infographic. Here's what it means to gird up your loins. So this is how, pretty much for the past 90% of human existence, this is how people dressed. Okay, we've got different kind of clothes now, but everybody else wore cloaks or dresses or robes or skirts, something to the kind. This is what you wear when it's relaxation time. In this style, okay? When you don't have anything to do, when you're gonna sit around, when you're gonna eat, when you're gonna drink, when you're gonna maybe leisurely walk through the market. You can be dressed like this. But if you've got stuff to do, if you've got work to do, if there's action to take, if there is possible danger around, you gotta change your outfit, so to speak. You gotta put your big boy pants on. And you've gotta pull that dress up and you tie it into your belt so you're ready for action. You're ready to defend yourself. You're ready to not, now imagine, and now this is a very good analogy because if you've ever worn a garment that goes all the way to the floor. I haven't. I've never, besides pants. Like I can remember when I was young, I would wear, like baggy jeans that would drag the ground and fall apart where I would walk on them, right? Like what happens if you go walking like outside this morning with pants on like that? Or a dress on that's around the bottom of your shoes? What's gonna happen? It's gonna get wet and dirty and nasty. Then let's say you gotta walk through something even worse, maybe like the woods over here. It's gonna get caught on stuff. It's gonna get caught in the thorns. It's gonna tear. It's gonna hold you back. It's gonna keep you from going where you need to go. So that's why this is so amazing. This is where it starts. Every day, every single day, you need to get your mind together. Get your mind right. Because this intelligence, this wisdom says it's going to get snagged up on stuff. It's going to get caught up on stuff in your life if you don't keep it together. I'm not saying keep your life together, keep your mind together. Because if you can do that, you're ready for action. You're ready to, oh, there's something in the road, a puddle, I can jump over it. I can hop over a fence, a barrier, an obstacle. It doesn't get dirty. Then when it's over with, I can let it back down and it looks new. Let your hair out, so to speak. Gird up your loins. And that's what we're going to practice, talk about here today. How do we do that? How do we keep our mind from being tangled as we walk through the world we're in? This is a big reason why we're here. And I know this might be hard to see, so I'm gonna, and this is some of the fill in the blank too. These are some stats on mental illness in our country, okay? This was a couple years ago. It's gotten worse significantly since at a rapid rate. In 2022, over 23% of US adults, it's 18 or older, about 60 million people had a mental illness, a diagnosed mental illness. That is 1 in 5 people. 1 in 5 has a diagnosable mental illness in this country. That prevalence is highest among the age group 18 to 25 years old. Young people. Over 36% in that age group have a diagnosable mental illness that they could be prescribed a medication for.
Like ADHD and.
So yes. Yeah. Nothing wrong with their body. There's something wrong with their mind. The depression, mood disorder, anxiety, learning deficit, hyperactivity, you name it. Something that the answer is to prescribe them a mind-altering medication.
Dr. Callahan,
Yes.
why do you think that is in this day and time? Because it wasn't that way when I was a kid.
Right.
Or when I was 18 to 25.
So we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about this a little bit. Higher among females, significantly higher among females. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, just because I want to know stats, right?
Yeah.
Are you saying it's 1 in 5 Americans are diagnosed with a mental illness, or 1 in 5 Americans have a mental illness and are prescribed medication?
Have a mental illness.
Okay.
You'll see on that next one, Not quite all of those 1 in 5 are taking the medication for that mental illness. But they could be, it's
Right.
diagnosed.
Yeah, yeah.
11th leading cause of death is suicide. Almost 50,000 people died by suicide in 2022 alone. Substance abuse disorder is continuing to grow, especially in the youth. Major depressive episodes in the past year. This is mind-boggling to me. In the past year, 1 in 5 youth have had at least one major depressive episode. And this is the stuff we know about. This is the stuff that's been reported to some clinic somewhere, some doctor somewhere, some psychiatrist or psychologist somewhere.
Hey, Callahan,
Yes.
just, sorry, therapist, so I have stats.
Yeah.
Suicide is the second leading cause of death for teens.
For teens.
So like 10, and they have some through 30, so it's higher. in
Well, yeah.
younger.
I mean, you look at the change in just the rate of the mental illness, and that's just 18 to 25, right? So that's gone up exponentially. So yeah, this is total. Young people, they don't die as often from other things like heart disease and cancer. So this is even more prevalent for them. So we have an issue here, kind of like you're seeing, like, why, what's going on here? What's happening? Like, we look at this and we know, like, okay, well, that's, when you look at the numbers, and I'm not saying good or bad about any of this. I don't like this. But just looking at it objectively, that doesn't seem right. Like, something's off there, right? And 1 in 4 are taking a medication for their mental health. 1 in 4 people. Now, this has gone up 20% since COVID, since 2020. Now, this was numbers in 21, 22, so it had gone up 20% just in the last year by the time this data came out. This is stuff from the CDC. So we have this epidemic that's not on the news of some mind issues, some mental issues. And I am here to say this is real. This is really happening. It's really affecting people, and it has real consequences. So we can't just say, people need to get their stuff together, or it's all in your head, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, this is real. And I know this because I sit down with new patients every single day. And you guys are patients, practice members here. We get to see what's going on with their health. We get to see what medications they're taking. And I'll tell you what, if you're a middle-aged female, this is coming after you. And there's just no way around it. It is a tough road. Okay? So we need to be aware, right? We need to at least be aware that, okay, I might need to gird up my loins here. This is scary waters we're trying to trudge through here. And it's not just a coincidence, right, that this is all happening and all getting worse. Right? We don't want to just be foolish in thinking that, we're just kind of powerless over this thing. Because it is a big thing, and it's kind of scary. It's kind of tough to, like, what do I do? Okay, so, and this is what a lot of people do. They're gonna take one of those medications. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit. But this is important. When we realize where we are in time, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you. How does God transform you?
By the renewing of your mind.
The renewing of your mind. He doesn't sprinkle fairy dust on your head. He doesn't give you six-pack abs, ultimate strength, and the ability to do whatever it is you want to do because you call him your Lord and Savior. The way you think, your mind has to change before anything else changes. That's why this is important tonight, today. If you want anything to change in your life, you have to change the way you think. If you want your physical health to change, you have to change the way you think. If you want your weight to change, you have to change the way you think. If you want your heart disease to change, you have to change the way you think. If you want your relationships to change, if you want your finances to change, if you want anything to change, it does not start by just doing some action that somebody told you to do. It starts by renewing this, changing this. Now, why is this hard? Why is this, it's like, I say these things and you guys get it. Yes, this is important. This is valuable. This is stuff that's worthy to work on. But in spite of most people knowing that, why are we still in the problem we're in?
So many things going against, trying to get us to do the opposite. So many influences.
So that's kind of that world that we talked about, our current environment. And we're going to talk about that. It is not conducive to good mental health whatsoever. Nothing's designed for your mental health. The streets out here aren't designed for your mental health. Your job is not designed for your mental health. Your home is not designed for your mental health. It wasn't built by a builder that had your mental health in mind. This town is not run in a way that cares about your mental health. This state, this country, we could give a rat's about your mental health because we can just fix that with a medication. Now this is hard because of that, and also when it comes to this, when it comes to the way you think, when it comes to maybe some type of broken pattern you have in your mind about the way you think about something or someone or some circumstance, what do you have to use to fix that?
Free will choice, thinking through.
Where does that come from?
Your brain.
Your mind.
Yeah.
That's like trying to fix your heart with your heart.
Mind.
It's the only part of your body that you're going to try and fix with itself. You have a problem with your leg, we're going to use your brain to figure out, what do I do about this leg problem? But when it comes to this, you take it, you're a person that has emotional trauma, physical trauma, regrets, depression, anxiety. And you're going to use that same thing to try and get yourself out of that. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's worthy to think about it. That's why it's worthy to try and step back away from it and say, let's maybe look at it a little bit differently than we have been.
Isn't that why psychology and psychiatry is effective?
Yeah.
Because you've got somebody else's brain to...
Absolutely. And this is where, who's seen this before? Right? If you've been around in here before, and maybe like the picture and the symbols have changed, but they're called the 5 essentials to health. Okay? And this one's right in the middle for a reason. Your mindset. Okay, now this is a very chiropractic thing. If you ever go anywhere in the world and you need a new chiropractor, okay, you go to Alaska, you move to Florida and retire there, you need a chiropractor. You don't really need to be, in my opinion, if I was looking for a chiropractor, I'm not so concerned about what technique he uses. I'm not so concerned about how many patients he sees, how nice the building is. I'm concerned with, how does he think? And does he value this above all else? And that should be everybody in your life. That should be your financial advisor. That should be your friends. This is the center of everything. Now, why? Why is it important to prioritize that above all else? Are these things not important? Adjustments, nutrition, exercise, toxins, no, those are all essential. Those have to be right if you want full health. But this is a little drawing scribbled by B.J. Palmer, the founder of chiropractic. He says this drawing is the most valuable drawing in the world. for it solves all the problems of man. So chiropractic views you like this. You know how we talked about how we're different than that blade of grass out there? Now, all living things have this inside of it. Can you see what that says? Innate intelligence. So this comes down to, how does your heart know how to beat? How do you know how to fight off the flu that's in this room, COVID that's in this room, the cold virus that's in this room? And we're all not going to get sick and die. How does your body know how to recognize that invader, fight it off, kick its butt? Who taught you that? That's why I love Charlotte's Web. We've read that book. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a great movie. I can watch that and read that book just over and over and over again. Imagine, and just go find a spider web. As soon as you can, go find a spider web and look at it and think about it. Okay? How does that spider know how to weave that web? Who taught it that? Don't even know who its mom is. Definitely wasn't their mom or their dad. It had an innate intelligence that allows it to do something miraculous, honestly. And that's when, in Charlotte's Web, the little girl's mom goes to the doctor and says, I think my daughter's losing her mind. She's got this relationship with a spider, and the spider's kind of writing words in the web, what's going on, doc? And he says, you know what? It's amazing to me that a spider can weave a web in the first place. That's a miracle, right? So that's in every single one of us. Now, this is a flow chart. It comes from up, okay? Doesn't come from this way. We're created this way as well. It comes from up, and then it goes into our brain. That's where it's stored. That's how our bodies are designed. Innate intelligence is in our innate brain. And then from that, it flows to our body, and then we have an educated brain and an educated body. We're trying to educate our brain right now. You can educate your body as well. But these things have to be connected. Okay? It's not magic or Bluetooth or osmosis that these things happen. That's why this is so important. This is I had this thought the other day because we live, like you saw, we have a lot of animals, right? What are all animals, all living things, what do they need? What's one of the main things they need? Water. Water's a big deal. Water's a big deal at my place. Got a lot of mouths to water, okay? And we consume those animals. We consume the eggs. We consume the pork. We consume the beef. What if the water was toxic? And then it's making everything else on the farm toxic. And then we're eating that. And the toxins are building up and up. Oh man, we need to make sure water is on point. That's just water. This is the source of everything. So if this is tainted, if this is toxic, so will be your heart, your lungs, your digestive system, your immune system. Every single cell and tissue in your body will feel the effects of this. Where do you feel stress? Right? The last place you feel it is your brain.
Right.
Where do you feel nervousness? Maybe in your tummy, maybe in your neck, the muscles there, you get tight, maybe you're wired a little differently, you feel it, but what's going on in your brain is very rarely felt in your brain. You have no feeling in your brain. But you feel every emotion you have in your body. So does every single one of your organs. You get scared, what does your heart do? It goes faster. You get that feeling in your stomach when you get scared because your body is preparing to do something. And it's saying, we don't need to be digesting lunch right now. We need to be preparing to do something else, to fight. Okay? So stop blood flow to the digestive system. Put it into the heart. Put it into the brain. So you feel it like that. Right? If a tiger walked into the room, everybody would feel it. Every single one of your thoughts, your body feels and your body responds to. This is a worthy pursuit. Now you guys can see why if we sit down with a brand new patient and we get the sense that something's wrong with this, not like they have a brain injury, but they're depressed, they're anxious, they're lost, they're scared, they're fearful, and they want to talk about getting out of pain. My back hurts, doc, that's why I'm here, you're a chiropractor. Sometimes it's hard to even make that transition, but we can try. We can do everything we can physically to fix your body. But if this stays in the same state it's in, it's gonna be really, really tough. Just like if that water stays toxic, we can try and clean up everything else we want, but every day those animals are gonna drink that water. Drink. And that's what we're fueling our body every single day with our emotions, with our nervous system. Big bonus if anybody can tell me what this stands for.
I cheated and looked it up.
You cheated already? So everybody but Rachel. ADIO, so this is the acronym, right? This is an acronym? Which sums up what we're talking about when it comes to where health and healing comes from. This stands for above, down, inside, out. Everything you need comes from above, down, inside, out. That is why there is very little value in trying to get something from outside in when it comes to your health. Is our modern medical system an inside-out medical system or an outside-in medical system? It's all 100% outside in. Put something in your mouth, inject something in your arm, rub some cream, cut you open, pull something out. It's all outside in. That is a very good system when all else fails. When you have tried all the inside out stuff, but you just got your leg cut off by a chainsaw. Thank God some people are blessed to address that situation, try and save your leg or cauterize it, suture it up, and save your life. That's when you want outside in. If that's me, I'm saying, doc, give me all the drugs. Knock me out, do whatever you gotta do, save my life. But we utilize that system for everything. For high blood pressure, for weight, for sadness and loneliness. These things that, and then we're left feeling like, what the heck? This ain't working out like I thought it would. Because we're trying to solve an inside-out issue from outside in. And we wonder why everybody is frustrated with their health insurance, with their doctor, with their appointments, with their diagnosis, with their medication list. It's just frustration after frustration after frustration. It's because we're coming at it from the wrong angle. So above, down, inside, out. That is something that it needs to be a mantra. That's where all healing, all health is going to come from. Above, down. Now, so even if you're not a believer, even if you're not spiritual, just anatomically, this is true for health and healing. It's the way our bodies are made. Everything comes from your brain. It travels down your spinal cord. It goes out to every single cell, tissue, organ in your body. That's why chiropractors care so much about the spine. Who's a guest here? Any guest? Guest, one, two, three. Got a couple guests. So if you've never heard anybody talk like this, any chiropractor talk like this, we would love to talk to you more about this kind of stuff. This is what we do. This is what we love to talk about. This is what we love to try and dig into. That this is how we solve problems, looking at things this way. We think differently. So if you're interested in that at all, you guys are here at a really good time because it is our Friends and Family Week. So there's no cost for examination, consultation, sitting down with the doctor. Just let us know, either MJ or Danielle, before you leave today, if you want to sit down, spend some time kind of hashing these things out with a doctor that thinks a little bit differently.
And I'm a good example. I was on 13 meds when I came, and I'm on 0.
Wow.
I weighed almost 300 pounds, and I've lost a lot.
Wow.
Good for you. All because of
So she pointed to me, and where am I gonna point?
Back to her.
Where it comes from, above, down. It doesn't come from me. It comes from above, down, inside. Even if you want to point here, that's where the healing comes from.
Yeah.
That's where your ability to come off medication. Your body doesn't need those medications because I'm so special. It doesn't need them because your body doesn't need those medications.
She gave me the tools.
Yeah, just guide you along the way. That's what we are. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So this, in context, this is saying like somebody can say one thing or do one thing, but the way he thinks, deep down inside, that's truly who he or she is. So you can think that you can fool, your health, right? You can try and lose weight this way or that way. You can try and look young this way or that way. You can try and have energy this way or that way. You can try and do whatever with your hormones this way or that way. But the way you think is really tied to how healthy you are. And that's why there are so many failed this and that. And we're about to look at like failure, success, health, mindset, and hopefully a very different thing. But essentially, you're the sum of your thoughts. And like we're talking about, if you just dump garbage into your brain all day long and expect this body to be this vibrant, beautiful thing, that's tough. You're going to be left thinking, what's going on with my health? What's going on with my energy? Why can't I sleep? Why don't I feel the way I want to feel? Why do I have these symptoms? We have to look from above down, inside out. I'm going to play a video for you. Now, this is from an Instagram page that is really solely based off this old lady. It's her family that takes videos of her because she's very wise. She thinks of things differently. And this particular video, I'll set it up a little bit. She's a very positive, inspirational person that looks at things in a very cool way. But this morning, she was not feeling her best. She had broken a rib not long ago. And she's frustrated with how long it's taking to heal. She's frustrated that she doesn't feel good. And she recognizes that because of that physical ailment she had, because of that condition she was in, it was screwing with her thinking. And her daughter's just filming her at the breakfast table, having coffee, going through her thought process of kind of what's been going on in her life. And it's pretty amazing, so I hope you guys enjoy this.
I've always known that we often take wonderful things for granted. They're just there. We don't think about how they came together, how they were composed. If we dig into it ourselves with our minds and not our fingers, we must realize that there are miracles happening all the time coming out of the dirt. And after all, what is dirt but broken down rock, bits of sand, old cow poo, rotted leaves, all that mixture. And out of that, a little seed can come up and do what it's supposed to do, and even make those delicate little petals on an aster. And they're all in the right spot, and they have a little center that's just right, and they have the power to make another one, another year, another season, out of the same old dirt. It's just miraculous. And forget about humans and the brain and all those other wonderful things that people do. To think that those plants that we think of as knowing nothing and just being thrown away in the wind, to think that all can come as a whole world of greenery and purple and pink and red and white and delicate and tough. We're just surrounded by miracles all the time. We take them for granted. We complain. I'm complaining about my broken rib. I'm complaining about my itchiness. Good Lord, look around, think. Think something new about old things. And lots of people do. But I haven't been so right up in this busted rib that I haven't thought about miracles lately. Be a miracle. The damn thing will heal itself. And might be key. Thanks for the coffee.
Isn't that great? And, you know, sometimes people are waiting on a miracle. They feel like that's what has to happen for something to turn around. And when you're fixated on the pain, when you're fixated on the current struggle, it can be consuming. And sometimes it keeps you from looking up and seeing all the wonderful things that are in your life. All the miracles that are happening, have happened, all the goodness that's there. Pain does that to people. Trust me, we know. But that's why this matters so much. Because you can change the way you think like that because of a certain situation. Even at your strongest point in your life, something happens, boom, you're shaken. That's why we need to gird up our loins in those scenarios and know this is gonna be tough. I'm gonna need everything I got here. It ain't easy though. These are Paul's words. Very wise person. I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, I do.
I know.
I know, right? Amen, brother. Like sometimes it's like, why do I keep doing the same old stuff that I know is not right, and I know what I need to do, but I just can't do it? It's part of the human condition. Okay? People have been dealing with this type of stuff since the beginning of time. That's why it's important for this to be right. That's why Paul writes about the mind over and over and over again. Gird up your loins. Okay. So I'm going to spend some time on this one. We're going to have a bathroom break here soon. But we're going to try and build a new framework for how you view life. This is a daunting task, okay?
Sorry, my glucose meter.
Is it going up or down?
Well, it's not connecting.
Okay.
That's why
Let's say, am I doing good or bad
No,
here?
it's disconnected, so fix it.
Now, this is a daunting task because everyone in this room has their own experiences. I might be the youngest person in this room, give or take. Most of you are older and probably wiser than I am in a lot of ways.
How old are you?
I'm 38 years old. Hey, now here's the thing.
Just a few.
We are all babies. We're all babies. Okay? Be careful if you think anything. That's right. At one time. So we all have our way, our glasses that we view the world through. And it's been shaped by our experiences. And it's been shaped by our culture. It's been shaped by our environment, shaped by our parents, shaped by the schooling we had, shaped by the jobs we've had. You two keep it together, please.
We probably need to sit away from.
I was starting to say, we're gonna have to separate y'all.
So,
We're shaped by our parents and we wrecked right there.
that's right. And, I mean, that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
So, some people have great parents. Some people have one great parent, one terrible parent. Some people have two terrible parents. That's a reality, right? Not everybody was cut out to be a parent.
Right.
I mean, it's like I said at the beginning, I know how hard that is. It is hard to be a parent. So it's real if there's been some trauma and dysfunction that's been instilled in you from the earliest of ages. Okay? But we are going to try and look at your journey through this life in a different way. Now, because of, how many, so this is a graph, right? Okay? How many of you have seen a graph before?
We used to do it by hand, remember?
Right? We were taught in school, like graphs, time, the two axes and all that stuff, right? We're trained in this, okay? We're also trained in timelines, right? We're chronological things. It's very ingrained in us to, now we in turn think of our life that way. We think of our life as a graph. We think of our life as a beginning and an end. And the older you get, the closer you are to the end. Right? Now hold on. So, this is kind of an accurate depiction of how most people view time, okay? Now I'm gonna explain these two dotted lines. So time is along here on the bottom, so this is how you progress through time. Born here, we're gonna die here, okay? These two lines represent this one here labeled success. You could label this all the good things in life. All the things you want, all your dreams. Imagine like if you could just write it down for your life, what you would want to happen, boom, that's the 100% up there, okay? Now this line represents kind of the opposite. Everything in your life that keeps you from that. Everything in your life that takes away from that. Every fear, every bad thing, every negativity, every failure, every shortcoming, every bad decision. It's this line, okay? Now this is a progression through time. Now most people, if they could pick, they would want to spend their life floating up here, riding at 100%. Born into wealth, everything's perfect, successful marriage, successful family, successful job, successful life, great relationship with God, great relationship, spirituality, great physical health, great everything. We want to stay up there, okay? And we would never want to ride this line, right? Where it's just all bad. Hard to find any goodness, okay? Now, these two lines represent their relationship with each other, okay? Now, I guarantee you, when you're doing good, when you have a great view of yourself and where you are in your life, you are strong in your resistance to the bad stuff. You're strong in your resistance to the attack on your goodness. Right? Now, what happens in life? Right? Life happens. Maybe you get knocked down a notch as you age. Look at the relationship the attack and its strength over you gains. The weaker your view of yourself becomes, the stronger the attack on your life becomes. Okay? As you progress through time, it's like I was doing good, but man, it's just, I'm 50-50 now. Okay, so this spot where they meet, where the goodness in your life and all the badness in your life, they're like, you're at a tipping point. You're at a crossroads. Okay? I'm going to label this the critical juncture. Now, this is typically where people decide to do something about it. I'm going to change. I'm going to get help. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to work on my marriage. I'm gonna yada, yada, yada. I'm gonna, because boom, I'm right here. I've hit that point where I've got to do something, and I know I need to do something. And a lot of times, you start progressing back up that way, okay? Or maybe it's not a good critical juncture. Maybe the attack starts to gain more strength on your life, and you start heading towards rock bottom. That's a reality as well. Some people start here. Nothing good. That's a reality. Some people start here, but wherever. Now, let's condense this down to a day. This is the beginning of the day, the end of the day. Okay? What we want to try and do here is get rid of this beginning of your life, end of your life, because this is average, okay? This is the average perception of life. I want to stay up here, and I don't ever want to go down here. Now, nobody's Superman, even though they may look like it on Instagram or Facebook. They are doing this all the time. Everybody's up and down all the time with their life, with every little bit and piece of it. It is a battle back and forth. Now, when you get down to this point where it's like, crud, I need to do something. What have we talked about today? What do a lot of people do when you get to that point? What might you reach for?
Medication.
Drink?
Medication.
Medication? Some other way to fulfill yourself?
It's an interesting way to think
So you can see that a variety of unhealthy things can come from this up and down. It can come from the fear of, I can't let myself get down there, and I've got to get back up there. I've got to look successful. I've got to be successful. I have to look happy. I have to sound happy. I have to look healthy. I have to look young. All these things, because of our view of life and where we should be, it drives us into this insanity that way. Now, here's the tipping point. Here's how we're going to look at this differently. Now, does this make sense to everybody?
Absolutely.
I know it makes sense to me. My mind in life can kind of go there like, I was doing stinking great last week. Like, what's going on this week? I feel like I can't do anything right this week. Right? And it's like, boom, that attack gets bigger than this, and I fight and I get back up there. Now, here's the thing. If this makes sense to you, if you feel like this is where you're at a lot, we have to change the way we think about your life. Have to. This is tough. It makes you susceptible. This is walking around with your loins down. It is, because you're going to be told you got to be up here. You're going to do whatever it takes to get up here, because that's the only way to live. Okay, this spot right here. I guarantee you, when we first went through this, nobody said, that's where I want to live. Some people are like, I'm there right now. Here,
that way.
here's the trick though. This is the goal.
Really?
Interesting.
Striving to stay at that critical juncture at all times is the goal. Now here, to help make sense of this. So when you talk about, once again, I'm going to talk about following Christ. When you follow something, what are you usually walking on? A pathway. Okay? Are there metaphors to life being a journey? Staying on the right path? Okay? That's real. What path is this? Born, live, struggle, die? That's no path. That's no journey. That's not following anything. That's following the world. Why do we want to stay right here? Because we're delusional if we think we can just put ourselves up here because of circumstance and there not be an attack waiting around the corner. We live in this moment where I'm in my car driving to work and somebody flips me the bird and they try and pull me down here. And I'm going to say no. I'm in that critical juncture right now. Right now. Every single moment is that critical juncture. Not when I hit rock bottom. Not when everybody looks at my life and says, dude, what's been going on with you? Okay, I better do something now. It's every single moment. We want to ride this line. This is wisdom from the Bible. Wisdom from Solomon. Solomon says, I've tried to feel good by doing all the good things. I've tried to feel a certain way by being the most successful person on the planet, by being the wisest person on the planet, by doing the most good works for humanity, by building the most community bridges and buildings. I've done it all, and I left feeling no better than I did in the beginning. And he pretty much says life is meaningless. It's kind of hard for some people to grasp. He says really all you can care about is eating, drinking, working, and obeying God. That's it. That is the secret to life. Eat, drink, work, and obey God. Now, to make this a little clearer, we have our chart. Okay? Have our chart. This is how we view our life. We said we wanted to stay right here, okay? Right in the middle. Life doesn't go like this. Your life is not a chart. Your life is not there. When did the universe begin? It's always been there. When is it going to end? Science says it's not only not going to end, it is growing. Infinite space, infinite time, and every single moment that passes, space gets bigger. How is that possible? We don't know. When is your soul going to end? Hope never, right? That's the goal, for it never to end. You've always been here. You always will be. But we look at our life as these moments that we're trapped here as a visitor, as a traveler walking down the path. We get pulled off that path. So that spot right there, that's where we're going. That way. We ain't heading left or right. You can't get any younger. You're going to get older. That conversation's over with. Nothing we can do about that. We are traveling through an infinite time and space.
Yeah.
Now, when you have that mindset, the person that flips you off in traffic, what's the big deal? It's meaningless as you age. Yeah, but it's okay to look in the mirror and say, well, maybe not as good as I wanted it to look at this age. I thought I might be looking a little better by now, but who cares? It is truly meaningless. Should I go try and find some new surgery or new $50,000 cream or whatever it is? You guys see where all of our, especially in our society, and we're walking around dragging the longest, for anybody to step on. Say, try this. You should try this. You should make this much money. You should look this at this age. You should be married by this age and this many kids by this age. And all this stuff that just tangles our mind because we're not looking at it properly. It's our goal to stay as tight to that circle as possible. To stay on that path as best we can. I taught my 11-year-old we took him hunting for the first time with a gun. And I was teaching him how to aim. Okay? And if anybody's ever shot even a pistol, even a bow and arrow, but especially a rifle with a scope that you can look through crosshairs. What's the goal to try and get that projectile, that bullet, to hit the target as best as possible as you're looking through your scope? What's the goal? So like that, let's say this is the target. So if you try and do that, you're gonna fail. It's impossible. You can't perfectly hold it right there. You can't. The best archers, the best marksmen in the world, they are not holding it steady perfectly and then pulling the trigger. They're doing this. They're letting it float. They're letting it go. They're just gonna let it hover there until they relax and squeeze. So our goal is not to be so tight about, we gotta stay on the right path. But if we stay in that critical juncture, you veer off, let's get back on track. No big deal, let's get back on track. You might go too far the other way. Whoa, let's get back on track. Let's stay in it, let's keep our minds, let's keep our pants pulled up, let's stay on the path. That's life. Instead of thinking we need to be something that we're not. Instead of fearing like, oh my God, if I lost my job, if I lost this house, if I can't make that payment. You see, now we're getting into this stress of life. When we just need to relax and realize it's not about this or this, it's about staying right here, right in the middle, right in moderation, even with good stuff. Is money bad? No. Can it be? Yes. Is exercise good? Yes. Can it be bad? Yes. Right? Anything can be viewed up here or down here. Especially who you're talking to, which part of the world, what time in the world. Like, exercise hasn't even been around for the past 100 years. Nobody exercised. You realize that? There were no gyms. That is a very, very new thing, gyms.
But people were more physical.
They were moving, right? They didn't have any choice. We're going to talk about that. Okay. Now, this is it put into words. This is Russell Brand. He's in that. Now, here's the thing. You're going to see me tap into some like famous people.
He's weird.
He's a weird dude, right?
Yeah.
He thinks. Thinks
Well,
about
that's really
stuff.
weird.
Yeah, right. Look out. But I mean, he's quoting a pastor here. I believe that nothing is more often misdiagnosed than our homesickness for heaven. We think that what we want is sex, drugs, alcohol, a new job, a raise, a doctorate, a spouse, a large screen television, a new car, a cabin in the woods, a condo in Hawaii. What we really want is the person we were made for, Jesus, and the place we were made for, heaven. Nothing less can satisfy us. You see, our life, our world tells us we need to be up at the top of success. When you have wisdom, you realize we're on a path going somewhere completely different. We're not made for here. We're not designed to stay here. We're on a path somewhere else. We have a different destination. And when you start to realize that, you can let go of so much. I truly believe that we're all made with a hole in our heart, with a piece of us missing, a piece that can never be fulfilled, made right in this life. It's not going to happen. Imagine you had a son or a daughter that you knew wanted to leave. They wanted to leave home and they didn't want to come back. And you knew if they left, it's going to be really tough to get them back. But you had something you knew they needed. Maybe it's money, credit card, something like that. You might use that so they what?
Come back.
They come back. They keep calling you, whatever it is. And let me tell you, you've got somebody who loves you more than any parent ever could, and he made you that you would always search for something other than what can be found here for the rest of your life until you are there. And that's when it's going to be filled. Don't try and fill it with a bunch of other stuff. It gets scary really, really fast. Now let's talk about a major way we try and fill this hole. This is from the book, The Body Keeps the Score. This book was written by Bessel A. Vanderkolk. He was somewhat of a pioneer in psychiatry and psychology. Some of his views are not widely accepted today, but he was on the forefront of prescribing medication for especially PTSD. He developed that program with soldiers returning from the war when PTSD was just in its infancy. We didn't even know what it was. We didn't have a label for it. He started utilizing chemicals, medications to help the therapy, to help him do his job. And then once that took off, he was like, whoa, what's going on here? With all these antidepressants, antipsychotics, all these things. It's like, that's never what this was designed for people just to take them. So I'll read this. Because drugs have become so profitable, major medical, now this is old, guys. This is old, like 50 years ago. Major medical journals rarely publish studies on non-drug treatments of mental health problems. Practitioners who explore treatments are typically marginalized as alternative. Studies of non-drug treatments are rarely funded unless they involve so-called manualized protocols, where patients and therapists go through narrowly prescribed sequences that allow a little fine-tuning to individual patients' needs. Mainstream medicine is firmly committed to a better life through chemistry. And the fact that we can actually change our own physiology and our inner equilibrium by means other than drugs is rarely even considered. That is, we're all in this society, we're all in on better mental health through chemistry, through medications. We don't really care to see the other side of this. So, what's the purpose of these medications then? Should we just never use them? I'm not here to say that, because they have been proven very beneficial in certain circumstances with certain doctors, okay? Now, these are what we're talking about. Antidepressant, anti-anxiety, stimulants, antipsychotic, mood stabilizers. This is what everybody's being handed to fix our issues, which we have, which we've talked about. We've got issues, right? But this is the answer. Now, there's a neuropsychologist, Andrew Huberman, Paul Conti, who's a psychologist. This is what their latest research at Harvard and Stanford is really what they're saying. Short-term versus long-term use, talking about the medications. The debate over short-term versus long-term use of these medications is significant. There is a recognition that antidepressants are often overprescribed or used as a quick fix. They've highlighted the importance of understanding these drugs as tools rather than permanent solutions, advocating for the potential use in the short term for certain cases. So imagine you wanted to help somebody with a problem and they're not letting you in. They're not opening up. They're not mentally able to even process what they've been through. They're not able to verbalize what they've been through. It has been shown that in those scenarios, these medications are beneficial to help break down those barriers in therapy, working with a professional. It helps open that doorway to a new way of thinking, neuroplasticity, kind of reshaping the brain, their outlook, kind of like what we've been doing. Have we been talking about this? That is extremely hard for some people to kind of get outside of themselves, look at things from a different angle. That's when medications can be beneficial. Now, just to start one and not stop. That's where we see, like, what are we doing here? What is the benefit here? Are we really fixing anything? There's a lot of unknown about that type of scenario. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when we look at this again, you can see that maybe you get to one of these junctures, maybe you get to rock bottom, you can utilize these tools to help get back to some type of baseline. But we don't want to just ride that for the rest of our lives to help us cope, because it is proven it's going to dull other parts of your mind. You are not going to be able to experience the world and your emotions the same way, even though it might be beneficial in the short term. Long term, your life is going to be different, and not in all the best ways. Feel versus real. Close to the bathroom, guys. So this is the difference, and I think this is such a beneficial conversation, especially for young people or if you've never thought about this. What's the difference between your mind and your emotions? All right, like this is something we don't think about. Okay? So if somebody makes you feel angry, okay? Does that mean, therefore, you are angry?
Your perception is your reality.
You could be angry. You could let yourself become an angry person because you feel angered. But you don't have to. There is a separation there.
But they still can't make you
Right.
feel angry.
You
It's
make
a
yourself
choice
feel angry. You don't make
be
yourself-
angry. Also,
I think we're saying the same thing.
sort
Mhm.
of, but
If somebody
But if
slapped
you
my
think
wife,
you can make me, if
I'm
I
gonna
think
feel angry.
that you
Oh,
can
no
make me
matter
feel
what.
angry, then
No matter what, no matter what I'm smoking, no matter
Yeah.
who my psychologist, no matter how healthy I am, that is going to elicit an emotional response in me.
it's still your choice.
It's my choice to act on
Right.
those emotions.
Yes.
What I do with those emotions is where my consciousness comes into play, where my mind comes into play.
Yeah.
Does that make
Still,
sense?
it's a choice in your mind to be.
To be angry?
with
No.
it.
We do not want to be robots.
Yeah.
You have emotions for reasons. God gave you those emotions. Why do we have anger? Why do we have fear? Why do we have jealousy? You're created in the image of God. He has those emotions. Emotions are not bad. Emotions are our way to connect to our mind, okay? We're going to talk about this as a tool in the future. Don't deny your emotions. Don't deny the fact that that guy flipped me off and that's not the right thing to do. That guy should not be doing that. He should not be cutting. I don't have to be like, I didn't even recognize him. It wasn't even dangerous that he swerved across 3 lanes.
No,
I could be like,
I wasn't
that
advocating
that guy made a mistake, okay? But it's not gonna affect my day because I know where I'm going. I'm not gonna act on it. I'm not gonna chase him down and teach him a lesson, that type of thing, right? But these emotions are healthy. You experiencing life and having emotions. Now, when your emotions are inaccurately in relation to your experience, okay? So let's say somebody says, hey, how you doing today, Rachel? And you just get pissed off. See, that's not a good relationship there. There's something else at play here. But an accurate emotion to your stimulus is a perfectly healthy thing. And we want to experience those things. We want to recognize those things. Because if we don't recognize them, we're still gonna feel them no matter what. They're gonna come, and even if we try and keep them all in there and don't recognize them, it's going to have an effect on us. Now, if we can recognize them, talk about them, then if we can get to the point where it's like, well, why did that make me angry? Why does that make me? Maybe you're the person who can't let that person get away with it on the highway. You just can't.
Yeah.
Something now, but saying it doesn't make me angry doesn't get us anywhere. Saying, okay, yeah, that does make me very angry. Why? What is it in me that does not allow me to process that as a bad thing? It wasn't right, but now it's eliciting. There's an imbalance here.
Still mad. It's
Right?
already passed, and now
it's
still
over
mad.
with, and I'm carrying it into my house when I get
Right.
home. Right? That is not a healthy relationship with your emotions. So we want to. That's when we get into the feel versus real. Just because you feel angry does not doesn't have to make you an angry person. Just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean make its way into your reality and become your identity. But it is very important to still feel. We are feeling beings. We are emotional beings. All right, potty break. Okay, let's take like 5 or 10 minutes here. Get a drink of water if you need it.